Hi there, and welcome back to another live video with me, Taryn Bashford, teen fiction author of Payback and Stacey Jam series, and also Game Face. God, this is getting long. Anyway, it's a bit crazy around here today because I'm in the middle of the second draft, actually coming towards the end now, and there's just a lot of stuff around. I'll give you a little squint. There's my index cards for my chapters, keeping track of things. There's my notes and my timeline and the computer itself, and just a lot of notes and things to check and make sure that I'm not completely getting the structure of the story wrong. Anyway, I'm talking about Project Awesome today. We aim within the Project Awesome to help teens go from feeling pretty awful to feeling pretty damn awesome. So going back to books, I felt that two of my characters, Aria and Harper in Game Face, are a good example of self-esteem issues. Basically, Aria is a very, very talented musician, but she sees herself as a failure compared to her sister Harper, who's an international tennis superstar. So it would be pretty tough. But she spent her whole life negatively comparing herself to her sister, and now she has deep-seated beliefs that have led to low self-esteem. But none of her beliefs are actually facts, they are opinions. So this is an issue a lot of teens have, and you find it in teen fiction because it's a reflection of real life. So last week we covered step 1, in which we talked about making an awesomeness journal, and today we're going to talk about how we stop evaluating ourselves in a negative way, ourselves and our actions. So some people think it's quite good to be self-critical, and yeah, I agree, sometimes it is in certain situations. But if you're having a tough day or in a tough situation, or let's say a friend of yours is having a tough day, would you criticize them and make them feel bad? So if you wouldn't, which I'm sure you wouldn't, why do it to yourself? So here's an example. The science teacher has called you in to say that they don't think you put enough effort into your homework, and that you need to explain why you deserve not to fail on that assignment. So someone with low self-esteem is very likely to fall into a pattern of basically saying to themselves at this point, I'm useless, I'm hopeless, I'll never be any good at science, I always mess up, rather than the reality being that you kind of got a bit busy this week, your mum was sick and you ran out of time and you're a bit disorganized. So that hopefully gives you an example of the difference between fact and opinion. So by getting out your awesomeness journal again, we start a new section for self-evaluation in which you write down, rather than putting it in your head, because that can be confusing and it also doesn't stick in your subconscious, but you write down the facts versus the opinions in the situation you've just faced. So by asking yourself things like, did I really mess up? Do I always mess up? Am I really awful at science all the time? Am I just useless? As opposed to the reality, well, actually, I got a lot of homework this week. I was a bit disorganized, and then mum got sick and I ran out of time. So there's very different reasons there for why the homework wasn't up to scratch. And you being disorganized is a very different reason to you being a complete mess up and pathetic. So the problem with having these emotions is that you tend to then spiral out of control because you start to overcompensate by being extra nice to your friends. You might isolate yourself. You might turn away an opportunity that comes your way just because you don't think you're good enough. And so you can see how it can really affect your whole life and the choices that you're making. And if you're finding it hard to evaluate yourself in the situation, just turn it around and pretend a friend came and asked you the same question. Would you perhaps say to them things like, well, that teacher always gives bad grades, or that teacher's really tough, or that teacher's in a bad mood, or did everyone get a low grade? If you ask yourself these sorts of questions, you'll find that the reason for the bad grade was not always because you're a mess up. So this provides a method where you can critique your actions by separating opinion and fact, and then you'll start seeing yourself in a very different light. So I hope this step 2, really helps. Be sure to subscribe so that you get live notifications for the next video, or you can see it on my website, tarynbashford.com. If you'd like to send comments, tell me how you're going with your awesomeness journal. I'd love to hear from you too. And next week will be step 3, and that means that we're halfway through. So I hope to see you then.